Sonic X Shadow Generations is officially out, and all I can say is, Sonic fans, we are on the good timeline. From stellar, almost perfect reviews leaving the fanbase in literal shock, to getting a shout out from influencers like Critical.
When I'm saying Sonic Cross Shadow Generations is a banger, shit is slapping, because I'm not exactly playing softball when it comes to Sonic.
To selling over 1 million copies before the game had even been fully released for 24 hours. Sonic Team and SEGA have really stepped it up, making major moves with this release while altering the public opinion of the Sonic franchise as a whole, which, to be honest, seems to be the main objective with the Year of Shadow campaign we have going on. Hey, I'm Skulls Nightshade, a lifelong Sonic superfan, and in this video I'll be sharing my review of Sonic X Shadow Generations. I've completed both the Sonic Generations and Shadow Generations storylines, and even S-ranked pretty much everything on the Shadow side. If you want to see my playthroughs of the game, check out my livestream playlist, and this video to see my extremely emotional reaction to the first segment in Shadow Generations. Now for my review. First off, let's talk about the full package. Sonic X Shadow Generations includes a remastered and slightly revised version of the game, Sonic Generations, alongside Shadow Generations, which is an entirely new full-length game. Although I may not be a huge fan of Sonic Generations itself, pairing the two together not only invokes a nostalgic feel in players familiar with the series, it also provides a welcoming feel to all the newbies just being introduced to Sonic and Shadow's adventures. There's a powerful contrast between the two games, depicted extremely well by the title screen display. I recommend when playing the campaigns, you complete the one you begin with fully before you move on to the other one for the full effect of the immersive journey. The order doesn't matter when it pertains to the story, but personally, I feel like it's best to start with Sonic Generations if you're new to the series. And of course, if you're a seasoned Sonic fan, you'll probably want to start with Shadow Generations, just as I did, since you are at least somewhat familiar with the original Sonic Generations game, and the Shadow story is the center of attention. To elaborate a bit more on my recommendation, the reason I suggest playing Sonic's story first is because of the feel of the game controls. Shadow Generations has a very intuitive control scheme, at least in my opinion, that feels up to date, accurately responsive, and when paired with the extraordinarily well-designed levels, feels smooth, almost like butter. While the controls in Sonic Generation feel a bit more stiff, uncomfortable, and outdated. To me, this can be felt the most in the 2D style levels and the level segments where it switches from 3D to 2D. And because I played Shadow Generations first, when I went back and played Sonic Generations, it felt more like I was forcing my way through the levels rather than enjoying them for the nostalgic charm and the design. One standout feature is the character interaction. Sonic Generations is filled with lighthearted conversations and direct dialogue progression, while Shadow's story provides a different dynamic filled with deep emotional expression. As for the story, it's engaging and well-paced, offering plenty of satisfying twists that keep you invested. I think fans will really appreciate the nods to the previous games while also enjoying a fresh storyline that feels relevant and exciting. In terms of challenges, there's a great balance between accessible gameplay for newcomers and tougher challenges for veterans. The inclusion of the collectibles and side missions give players a reason to explore every single bit of the game. Honestly, S ranking in Sonic Generations is really easy, so you definitely feel more of a satisfaction from your good gameplay in Shadow Generations. Now, moving forward, the focus of this review is going to be on Shadow Generations. Since I spent the majority of my game time there and went into full completionist mode, I feel like it's only appropriate that we spend most of the time talking about this part of the game in particular. Like so many others, I've had a burning excitement to finally play this game ever since they showed the very first teaser, and I can honestly say I was in no way disappointed. They truly pulled out all the stops with this one. The only real issue I had with the game, if you can even call this an issue, is that I wish it was longer. Which again isn't a bad thing at all. This was the Sonic game we've all been waiting for. It really feels like Sonic Team is showing us a glimpse of the full potential of what they can do with the franchise and beloved characters in the series like our star here, Shadow the Hedgehog. As a side note, when I play new games on stream, people tend to come in and ask me if the game's worth purchasing or if they should buy it, and in most cases, I talk about my feelings about the game and whether or not I'd get it, but I mentioned that I can't make that decision for you. And in this case, I've said yes and recommended this to anyone who is a fan of Sonic who has asked me. It's just that good. My favorite game is Sonic Adventure 2, and for so long I've been waiting for a Sonic game that invoked that same feeling that I haven't felt for a very long time other than replaying that game. Shadow Generations brought back the high-speed thrills we've come to love while introducing new mechanics that take the experience to the next level. The stage design was nothing less than stunning, combining classic elements with fresh twists that keep each stage exciting and engaging. Whether you're boosting through various landscapes or mastering tricky platform sections, it feels like Sonic Team's love letter to both new and longtime fans. Personally, I tend to like the stages in the 3D Sonic games that are played more like the 2D side view, far less than the traditional 3D stages. But that was definitely not the case in Shadow Generations. Some of my favorite stages are actually the side view variants, which are usually Act 2, very similar to Sonic Generations. The visuals of Shadow Frontiers are absolutely gorgeous. And yes, I know it's Shadow Generations, but I typed that in the script and I thought it was fitting, so I kept it. The hub world was huge, so much so that Sonic Generations hub world seemed microscopic in comparison. I mean, Shadow Generations hub world is big enough to have its own map. The complexity of the design felt true to the intricate and convoluted struggles Shadow was facing internally, almost like a manifestation of all the things that make up his character. To me, the hub world was alluring and felt like it was begging to be explored. The rail and platform pathing throughout was very reminiscent of Sonic Frontiers open zones. Shadow Generation stages, as well as the boss fights, had visuals that stayed true to its origin game aesthetic, but with updated and refreshing redesigns. The original stages they're based on definitely pale in comparison, but they don't feel forgotten when considering the core feel of each level. The boss fights, at least the ones that I'm familiar with since I didn't play 06 yet, but I will soon and will be more than happy to share my opinions afterwards. But anyway, the boss fights. The extraordinarily well-balanced blend of original boss designs and mechanics with the new updated details and modern mechanic changes made these fights better than they have ever been, showing that Sonic Team gave us the full potential of these iconic battles we hold dear. Hard mode adds an additional challenge that rewards the players who play for completion, like myself. The soundtrack is an absolute banger, and honestly, I feel like that's all I really need to say. If you know anything about Sonic games, I feel like you know the standard we expect when it comes to the music. If not, I'll just say Sonic has some of the best music in all of gaming, and I don't think anyone can convince me otherwise. To wrap things up, if I had to rate Shadow Generations, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. The only reason I don't give it a 10 is just because I wish it was a little bit longer, but we do have DLC coming up in December, and who knows, they might spring some DLC on us that we didn't know about like they did with Frontiers. For Sonic Generations, I'd give it about a 6 out of 10, and overall, I'd give Sonic X Shadow Generation a 9 out of 10. So, is Sonic X Shadow Generations worth your time and money? I definitely think so. I bought the game twice, mainly because the PC version doesn't come with Gerald's journal, and again, I'm a huge fan of Sonic Adventure 2. I felt like it would be a sin for me not to have the journal. I think Sonic X Shadow Generations successfully revives the franchise and sets a new standard for future titles. Whether you're a seasoned Sonic veteran or just jumping in, this game is a must-play. I don't advise sleeping on it. For those who made it this far in the video, thank you so much. This is my first time doing an actual game review video. I've done written reviews before, and I also do private testing, which I have to do reviews in that process, but nothing like this. I know it sounds a bit corny, but I felt in my heart that it would be appropriate to share my feelings on this. I've been playing Sonic for 20-something years now, and I don't think we've ever been up like this. Granted, I was a kid when the whole Sonic vs. Mario war happened in the 90s, so I probably didn't realize how big it was. I know it was big, but I don't feel like Sonic has been in the spotlight, established, confidently knowing what it is as a series. like it is now. This game set a very high standard, and I hope the next games live up to it. We also have Sonic Movie 3 coming out in December. We are definitely doing it big this year. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this review. If you liked the video, don't forget to press like and subscribe if you love Sonic as much as I do. I know we showed a lot of gameplay, but please try not to hard spoil everything in the game in the comments. Spoilers inherently come with this, but someone may be watching because they're unsure, and they don't want the game completely ruined. Look cute and stay cool. Bye!